Welcome to the TFO Next Morning Tuesday edition for Week 3. Let's start with the recap. On Thursday Night Football, the Raider All-Stars took on the Azrathian Assassins, with the All-Stars, the losers, 13 to the Assassins, 24. And then on Sunday Night Special, the All-American Alkies took on the Westeros Guardians, with the Alkies getting the victory, 21 to Guardians, 14. Sunday games included World's Warriors versus the South Jersey Slashers, with the Slashers getting a 6-point victory, Warriors 21, Slashers 27. The Nocturne Maniacs faced off against the Venture Industry, with Venture Industry picking up their third victory in a row, Maniacs 23, Industry 24. G.I. Joe faced off against the Beer Gods. G.I. Joe came up short, 7 to Beer Gods 28. The Greek Legends took on the WWF Hall of Famers, and even with backup Jim Duggan in, the Legends couldn't get the victory, 24 to the Hoffs 28. The DBZ squad faced off against the 8-Bit Brigade in a close one, Squad 13, Brigade 14. The Chumps fought the racial slurs and were victorious, Chumps 34, Slurs 20. The Pallet Poke Ballers took on the Rap Kings in a huge blowout match, with the Ballers balling 51 to Kings 10. Lost Survivors faced off against the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Torturers, and the Survivors survived 20 to Torturers 10. Rainbow Unicorns faced the Boxhead Capers. Unicorns only 3 points, Capers able to get 28. Weapon X's faced off against the Celestial Defenders, with the X's going off 42 to Defenders 24. Hollywood Heroes fought the Robot Masters, and the Heroes took away their third victory, 21 to Masters 14. And then on Sunday Night Football, the Whovians took on the Stellar Offenders, and the Offenders looked impressive. Whovians 14, Offenders 35. Looking at the standings, in the Bad Snap, the Hollywood Heroes is in the lead, 3-0. In the Bad Crackle, the Beer Gods lead by 1 win, 2 wins, and 1 loss is what they have. In the Bad Pop, the 8-Bit Brigade is undefeated, 3-0, and they're actually 2 wins up in that division. In the Mad Snap, Venture Industries is undefeated. In the Mad Crackle, the All-American Alkies is undefeated. And in the Mad Pop, there's a 3-way tie. Pokemon Pokeballers, South Jersey Slashers, and the Rap Kings are all 2-1. Injury report, lots of people injured. That's just how the name of the game is. So you can see the people that aren't returning, but there are a load of people returning. The Beer Gods getting back both their tight ends. That's crazy that they were missing both of them. Simon Belmont for the 8-Bit Brigade. That'll be a good return for them. Randy Savage for the Hall of Famers, man. They've been looking for him, and Cousin Butch. You know, they've been fighting without their main weapons, and they got a victory today. That was really impressive. So, but the Robot Master's still missing Copy Robot. That's going to hurt. Sailor Jerry and the All-American Alcoholics is a big blow to them as well. Just, injuries suck. So, let's hope people stay healthy, and let's hope clean TFO football out there, guys. All right, so for my top 5 this week, I decided to go with my top 5 valued fantasy football players for TFO. So this gives you an idea for the fantasy people, like who I think is a pretty good pickup for the value, how much they cost and all that. But it also gives the TFO fans an idea what players to look out for, what superstars are on the rise here in TFO. So in number 5, and these are all different positions. I thought that would make it more interesting. Number 5 is tight end T. Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Torturers. He's only $57,000, which doesn't seem like a lot for a lot of positions, but for a tight end, that is a lot of money to ask for. But he's consistent. You know, he's gotten 9 points in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He has 25 points total. That's a lot for a tight end. So, I mean, the cheaper you go for the tight end, the less points you're going to get. You just got to hope and pray. So, if you're looking for a good valued tight end but want to spend a little bit of money, Raphael's your dude. Number 4, quarterback, John Locke. I picked him in fantasy last week, and he only got me 9 points, and that kind of sucked. But he had 26 and 21 in the previous weeks. He's only 56,000. A lot of these quarterbacks are insanely priced, and you'll eat up a lot of your money. So, I mean, if you're looking for a cheap quarterback and you want somebody that's going to perform, John Locke's your man. Him thrown to the smoke monster, that kind of connection there, that bond he has, he's a pickup. Number 3, wide receiver, Buzz Lightyear. He's for the Celestial Defenders. He's 56,000. He's just a great pickup overall. He had 31 points in week 3, 24 points in week 2, and 13 points in week 1. He has just been accelerating to infinity and beyond. So I think he's a great pickup, great price too. I mean, you're getting about, you're spending about $800 per point really if you pick him up. So I think that's worth it. So number 2 is kicker RCR Alex. He's just the best kicker right now. He just got hot early on. The 8-Bit Brigade just got him out there, and he got 12 points in both week 1 and 2, but only 2 points in week 3. And it makes me worry that he might be on the decline. So I'm hoping that he proves me wrong and gets those Texas boots out and gives it a good kick for me. And my number 1 fantasy value player is running back Hulk Hogan. So, I mean, in a league where everybody is singing the praises of Al Bundy, Hulk Hogan is a running back 2 that only costs $12,000. That is cheap as dirt, and the guy has been performing. He has 3 chances because of their pass scheme. He has 3 plays. So he's likely to get the ball. He's not going to get many yards after the catch, but he's guaranteed to get you some good yards. He had almost 8 points in both week 1 and week 3 and 4.4 in week 2. He's just a great pickup. I recommend putting him in as a flex and let him run wild on them. Or let him run wild on you, brother. So, but that's my top 5 fantasy pickups. So if you're in a fantasy or whatever, but if you're not in a fantasy, look out for those players. They are up and coming players. Yeah, brother. All right, and then it's the see you next Tecmo, which means that I'm supposed to wrap it up, but I'm gonna just keep talking because I told Balog that I would add more content here at the end to accelerate his drive home. So I went ahead and pulled up the team stats for Tecmo this week. Number 1 offensive most yards was the Beer Gods and the All-American Alcoholics, 963 yards. They tied exactly. That's kind of crazy, but both are really high octane offenses. The All-American Alcoholics are the number 1 pass offense too. So the Beer Gods have always been a little more well-rounded, and I think their blowout loss in week 1 to the Slashers was really shocking. But I think it humbled the Beer Gods and reminded them who they are. And these last 2 weeks, they've been impressive. And it's scary, almost. So definitely look out for them. And All-American Alcoholics, what can you say about them? They've gone to the MAD Championship 2 years in a row. They're a juggernaut, so we know that they're going to pass the ball a lot. Number 1 rush offense, no surprise. Hollywood Heroes are the Al Bundy team, as they've been starting to call them there, 662 yards. I wonder how Jesse Ventura feels about Al Bundy getting all of this publicity. You know, Jesse Ventura put his face on the side of the helmet. So, you know, he's got a little bit of a Jerry Jones ego, if you will. The number 1 defense, least yards allowed, is the Robot Masters with 528 yards. And this is surprising to people because they haven't paid a lot of money, and I believe they're 1-2. They haven't been setting the world on fire. So, but I think what it is that they're just losing the ball. They're having a hard time holding on to the ball. You know, interceptions, fumbles, and when you do that in your own territory, that gives less yards the other team has to travel to score against you. And that's what I think's happening. I mean, they've scored 45 points and they've allowed 49. That is a pretty good number now that I'm comparing it to the other teams here. I mean, you got the Pokeballers have allowed 45. You got 8-Bit Brigades 47. All American Alcoholics is 48. Yeah, maybe my logic's not holding up there now that I'm looking at it. Well, then what could it be? What is happening with the Robot Masters? Are they holding them to smaller yardage maybe, and so that's eating away more time of the game? I mean, it could also be who they've been playing too. If they've been playing a bunch of run teams, that could change the dynamic of how that's all working. So well, okay, let's get back. The Robot Masters, they're an interesting team. I don't count them out yet based on these numbers. So, I mean, it shows here, yeah, that they're the number one pass defense with 232 yards. So yeah, they've been facing a bunch of run teams, so the clock has been getting run out. So I can understand all that, but I think that they spent their money wisely. They didn't have to spend a lot of money. But their offense really needs to show up a bit more because the money's there in the offense, and I want to see more. But when Copy Robot comes back, I think that'll help them out a lot. What else here? Number one rush defense is the Boxhead Capers. I think they're the reverse of the Robot Masters. They've played just a bunch of run hard teams because they've only had 188 yards passing. That's like 60 yards a game that they've held the other team to. So. I just think they played a bunch of run teams. But, as the more weeks come out, they're going to level that all stuff out, and then we're going to see where everybody is. Number one most scoring team is the Hollywood Heroes and the Beer Gods, 91 points. Those, I mean, we already sung the praises of both those teams. Just crazy. Number one least scored against team is the 8-Bit Brigade, 47 points. And I think that was wrong because they were talking about it on the board, and then I changed it. I just didn't change it in my notes here, did I? Because we just said 45 is what the Pokeballers have. Yeah, 45 is what the Pokeballers have, so they're actually in that spot. So I corrected it on the side. I just didn't correct it in my notes there. So, and number one score differentials Hollywood Heroes, so they really have extended themselves. I'm going to take a drink. This morning after is brought to you by chocolate milk, actually, because that's delicious. So, number one, these are player stats for week 3. Number one best throw rating was Locke from Lost. He has a 215.7 rating. Like I said, in my top 5 here, he's a great value quarterback. Schoen really centered his money a good way, I think, and it's really paid off these last few weeks. So, but we'll see how it works going forward. Number one most reception yards is Buzz Lightyear for the Defenders, 408 yards. I was singing his praises too, to infinity and beyond. It's great to have him back too because he played on the Pixar shorts a couple years back, and they did pretty good. They went to the playoffs, so I think the Defenders were wise to bring him in this year, and it's paid off obviously. Number one most rush yards is Al Bundy, Hollywood Heroes, 643 yards. Very Bonaire-esque. Not as much money as needed to be poured into him, but it looks like Clayton really spread the love in that offensive line, in the defenders on his team, even like defending players that are just out there trying to block for him. So, way to go. Al Bundy's looking great. Polkai. I like Polkai. So, number one scorer is Brock Sampson of the Venture Industry with 60 points. Venture Industry's a hell of a team this year. They're 3-0 already. I think that Steve went back because in season 2 he was Duckburg Moneybags and he was able to get a playoff spot his rookie year, and it was all good. And then he changed it up and brought the Exo Squad Aggressors, and they were not well received, and they did not really click as a team for TFO, and they just couldn't win games either. That's the worst part. So it's nice to see him get rid of those teams and really bring in a franchise that I think is really a great franchise, the venture industry. And Brock Sampson has just been a beast, a monster. And I mean, this just says 60 points, but there's that kick return that didn't count into this as well. I mean, if you've watched their games, watch a venture industry game because you will see him on offense and Monarch on defense. That's good. That's good TV right there. Good TFO right there. Number one interceptor is David Tennant of the Hoovians. He has 4 interceptions, but the offense there for the Hoovians just doesn't seem like it's getting it done right now. The double round's so risky, the huge risk reward there. But I think the receivers need to be a little bit better. I think the defense really clicks, but we'll see. We'll see how that is going forward. Number one sacker is Willie Wild Turkey, the All-American Alcoholics, and the Monarch of Venture Industries. They've got 6 sacks each. We just talked about the Monarch and how vicious he is, and he is a vicious, vicious butterfly. But Willie Wild Turkey is no stranger to the sack title. He was 2014 defensive Mad MVP, and that was the year the All-American Alcoholics won both the MVPs, offensive and defensive. That was an impressive team, and the All-American Alcoholics look great this year if they can just stay healthy, and they've had injuries, so they really need to stay healthy. Number one field goal kicker is Alex, RCR Alex of the 8-Bit Brigade with 7 field goals, but he had no field goals this week. He had 2 extra points. That worries me. Alex, you need to be working for me, okay? I like River City Ransom. Represent. I mean, I really think the title is 14 field goals. So, and he has 7 already in the first 3 weeks. That's incredible. So, I'm hoping he shatters records this year. Number one punter is Blaziken of the Pokeballers. 65-yard average. I don't believe he had to kick 1 punt this week, so I think he just keeps the title by de facto. I mean, the more they punt, the average will kind of average out, obviously. But the Pokeballers haven't needed to punt that much, so they have a high average. That's how that works out. Number one punt returner is Oberon for Westeros Guardians with 27-yard average. And number one kickoff returner is Kruger for South Jersey Slashers with 33.5-yard average. Both those teams, Westeros Guardians and South Jersey Slashers, I think that they're both very underrated this season. Westeros didn't look too hot in their last outing against the Greek Legends. I know that, but their quarterback is doing great with percentage passing, and if they can continue to use percentage passing mixed in with some running, I think that they could have a good season. They just need to believe in the pass and the run. So, and barring injuries. So, Lannister. That's who it is. I was trying to think of his name, the quarterback, Lannister. Tyrion Lannister. So, yeah. I mean, he's an old guy. But I think he still has it in him. He's a hell of a quarterback. He led the first championship team. So, he's got the experience. South Jersey Slashers have just looked really great. But I think that they're better than what they look. And that's kind of scary. And I can't wait. I'm really hoping. I mean, they're 2-1. They did suffer a humiliating loss against the Celestial Defenders. The game where it was just 0 score for them. They just couldn't get anything going on. Michael Myers was definitely not in the right shape or mind or whatever, but once Michael Myers is at 110%, because he's superhuman, so he can go beyond the threshold. I think that team is just crazy. And Kruger's there, and Kruger's just tearing it up. Jason Voorhees on defense. I'm really glad the South Jersey Slashers decided to, Kyle Chamberlain, you got to remember he had the South Jersey Slashers before in season 1. And then he started to bring some of his friends into the team. And then financially the team had problems, and so he had to get rid of the expensive players, which were like Freddy Krueger and Jason and all these horror legends, and he had to replace it with people just sleeping on their couches, these slouches, and they became the slouches, and their record kind of slouched a bit there, and this year they're just re-energized. I don't know if it's just the gray helmet or just what, but they look killer. Ha 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 ha. They look killer. Best overall via fantasy rankings for week 3. Number 1 quarterback, Jim Beam, All-American Alcoholics, is 77.32 points. The All-American Alcoholics are amazing, period. They're a pass team. Jim Beam runs. He can get run touchdowns. He's the man. He's looking for an MVP, I think, like with the production that he will need to perform with, but he's the man. He's the man on that team. Number 1 wide receiver overall is General Patton of the World's Warriors, 70.9 points. That is a pass-heavy offense, and they are going to be scoring a lot of points this season. So General Patton out there in front doesn't surprise me at all. Number 1 tight end is Jackie Chan of the 8-Bit Brigade, 34.1 points. That kind of still surprises me. I think he had a huge week 1, and then he's just kind of coasted these last few weeks. He needs to really pick it up. But, for short yardage, 8-Bit Brigade is more of a defense team. They want to run a little bit. I bet you Jackie has a bit of strength there so he can block for Hayabusa. But it just surprises me he's still out there. I think there's a lot of good tight ends this year. So I think that title is going to be jumping back and forth. Number 1 running back overall, Al Bundy, Hollywood Heroes, 118.3 points. He is just crushing it. He is the poke high hero. I think he had only 2 touchdowns this week. But, he had the big 4 against the Lost Survivors. So, Bundy. Go Bundy. No ma'am. Number 1 kicker overall is RCR Alex, 8-Bit Brigade, 26 points. I've said enough about him. I'm really just, knock on wood, man. He scares me because I think if the 8-Bit Brigade starts making production, then he's not going to be kicking these field goals. He's going to be kicking extra points, and extra points suck. I don't want extra points. Number 1 defense overall is Robot Masters defense, 30 points. Maybe it's just a mirage, and we're being had. Or maybe they're just this good. Maybe Dr. Wiley has tuned that defense, and we are just, he's just mind assaulting us. Is that the PC term? Mind assault. He's mind assaulting us. And, but it needs to start working. The offense needs to start clicking for that team because they are suffering losses they shouldn't be suffering. So. All right, that seems like plenty. I talked like a lot. Maybe I'll do that. I'll just go over what these numbers I have are. So, awesome. All right, well, see you next Tecmo.